Welcome back to the Full Force Fathers podcast, Dave. We have crossed the threshold of 1 year of episodes, and we are episode 53. We have something super special in store for you today, Dave. I'm excited. You're excited. We've been talking about this for over a month now, but how pumped are you for today?
I'm incredibly excited. I mean, not only is this the start of the NCAA tournament this week, we just had championship week, which is always a lot of fun. We have our own tournament, our own March Madness style tournament, which we're going to dive into very shortly, but it's about the greatest numbers of all time. And I think you had the best acronym for it. What'd you call it?
I call it the March Madness G-Note.
Yeah, the G-Note. I like it. Greatest number of all time. It's fantastic.
Yeah, we've been waiting, and this show is going to be like unlike any other show we've done before because we are going to be in a full force debate. We'll run down the rules and how everything works after we get started here. But first, before we do, like always, we are going to jump into our famous number because it is episode 53. We have our famous number 53s, and this number did not make the tournament, but to stay in line with the way we do the show, famous number 53s. We do have a few on there. Artis Gilmore. Marquise Pouncey, that crazy linebacker, Bill Romanowski, who always looked like...
All I remember from Bill Romanowski was when he spit in somebody's face. And he always looked like the crazy eyes guy from The Waterboy. That's all I ever remember from him.
Oh, for sure. That's exactly how he was. And we also have the famous Don Drysdale for number 53.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't make the cut, and we're going to explain the rules of our famous number. We're going to have some honorable mentions that didn't make the cut because we only did a certain number of numbers for the tournament for time and all that other stuff. But our Bible verse today comes from Proverbs 24, 5 and 6. And it says, "The wise prevail through great power, and those who have knowledge muster their strength. Surely you need guidance to wage war, and victory is won through many advisors." Now, you'll hear that saying in the Bible, in Proverbs, victory is won through many advisors, and other Proverbs and in other parts of the Bible. But I used it today because we are doing the greatest number of all time. But the greatest players who wear these great numbers can't do it without a great coach. So if you look historically over the course of time in sports, all of these players have great coaches. And for an example, Red Auerbach with the great Celtics teams, Bill Belichick with the great Patriot teams, Phil Jackson with the great Bulls teams. Okay, so that's why I picked that verse today, because with all of these great players, there's always usually a great coach, an advisor attached to that. And with all sports, there's more than one great coach. It's usually many advisors. There's an assistant coach and player personnel and all those other things. So that's why I went with that verse today.
Yeah, that's a perfect verse for today. And I think it kicks us off into this perfectly. But before we do get going, your background looks different to me. Where in the world is Brett today?
So we are in Virginia still, but I am in a different place in Virginia. I'm actually in I guess this would be an in-law apartment. It's a nice little place above the garage at my in-laws. So I needed to get away because, believe it or not, I wore a coat and a winter hat to get here because it's about to snow in Virginia. As we record this on March 12th on Selection Sunday, it's about to snow, which is insane to me. Because last weekend it was in the 80s, and now we're going to get a snowstorm for a few hours before it turns over to rain. And we may not hit 40 degrees today in Southern Virginia.
Ugh, awful. I mean, I guess it could be worse. I saw the forecast for Connecticut, and they said 12 to 18 inches. So I guess you could have it. You could have it a little worse.
Yeah, I guess you're right, because they may be getting the old blizzard, the classic nor'easter this weekend in our home state up there, which, once again, we were talking about this morning earlier. If you don't get a bad winter early, and when I mean early, because you can get snow in Connecticut in October. We've had Halloweens with snow. If you don't get that early winter or that normal winter with November, December, January, February, you always get whacked in the end, and that's exactly what's happening. Because they've had snow 3 times, I think, 2 or 3 times in the last 8 or 9 days, and now they're going to get a nor'easter. So, there's that. But anyways, enough about that. That's where I am. Let's get into this bracket here, the March Madness G-Note, the greatest number of all time bracket. And so what we did is we looked at numbers 0 to 99. Because after that, it doesn't really matter. There's no jersey numbers in the hundreds, unless it's some sport that I don't know of. But 0 to 99 we looked at. All right. We took the best 32 numbers and put them in a bracket. 4 separate brackets like you'd have in the NCAA tournament, 1 through 8. So instead of 1 through 16 with 64 teams, we have 1 through 8, 4 different brackets, bracket A, B, C, and D. Okay. So we have 4 brackets seeded 1 through 8. We will break it down today. 32 teams, get them to a Sweet 16, get them to an Elite 8 Final Four, and a champion. And now we have different criteria because we're not talking about, and this is a big point that I want to make. We are not talking about the most famous numbers of all time. We are talking about the greatest number of all time. And when I mean the greatest, I mean across all sports. Because obviously the most famous number of all time is 23. We all know that. But this is not a tournament about the most famous number. This is about the greatest number. So there is criteria that has to be followed when we did this. We put a lot of work, a lot of hours into this bracket to get it down to 32. And the main criteria is you have to have a player. So we're essentially, it can be a starting 5, but you have to have a player from the major sports in there. So you have to have a football player, a basketball player, and a baseball player. It is a bonus if you get a hockey player. Hockey, we both kind of agreed, is not a main. I mean, it's a mainstream sport, but it doesn't rise to the level of the other 3. So if you have a hockey player, that's a bonus. So what you want to do is we wanted to make it where you round out a starting 5. So you have to have at least one player from each sport of baseball, basketball, and football. And then the other 2 could be quote unquote wild card spots. If you have a great hockey player, I like soccer. So if you have a great soccer player, I mean, a NASCAR driver. So, it could be anything, the other 2 spots. So what we did is we went through and we tried to find what we described as the best 32 teams or numbers that we could make up by going through all of the sports and making a starting 5. And what we did is we really kind of put about 10 names together for each number. So you kind of have a starting 5 and a bench. And we wanted to use basketball with 5 because it's the NCAA tournament. So that's why we settled on 5. It's the NCAA tournament, Selection Sunday, our G-Note tournament, 5 starting players, and then your bench. So this was fun, Dave. This was a lot of fun to put this list together. Any initial thoughts before we kind of just dive right in?
There's a lot of really good numbers. That's the thing.
Yes.
Like we were going through it. I mean, we joke all the time on the show, right? Like, oh, this is a 1 seed. This is a 1 seed. That was always your thing. This is a 1 seed. I mean, you can only have 4 1 seeds. There's a lot of really, really good numbers as you're going to start to see. But I think that point you made about having players across multiple sports, it's not about just having Jordan and LeBron at 23. You've got to have a full team, a full complement to help get you to be the greatest number of all time.
Yeah. And before we jump in, because we're going to jump right in here because we don't know how long the show is going to take, because all that Dave and I did was put a bracket together. We seeded the teams, the numbers 1 through 8, and then we have not even discussed who wins each round. So this is going to be done as we are talking right now. We're going to break this down, and we're going to debate, and we're going to pick, and we're going to have to come to a mutual agreement as to what the number is. It can't be Dave thinks it's number this and I think it's number this. We have to come to an agreement, and we're going to break it down sport versus sport. It could be championships. It could be whatever that breaks down. But before we jump in, I want to give some honorable mention numbers because, once again, the main criteria for our G-Note tournament was it had to be a number that was great amongst the sports, not just one sport. So we want to just jump out right real quick. 99 did not make the list. It does have arguably the greatest player of any sport of all time, Wayne Gretzky, on it. It has Aaron Donald on it, but it has no basketball players. It has no baseball players. It has no soccer players. So 99 didn't make the list. It's hard to say that, but it really couldn't field a legitimate starting 5 outside of Wayne Gretzky and Aaron Donald, because those would be your first 2 picks at 99 all the time. Another number, 80. Yes, the great Jerry Rice, or 81 with Randy Moss and T.O. You had Chris Carter, a lot of these great wide receivers, Michael Irvin, 88. But that's it. They had no other members of a starting 5, and we couldn't just put a starting 5 together of 5 wide receivers or 5 hockey players or 5 defensive tackles. It has to fit the criteria. So the honorable mentions, a lot of those numbers in the 70s, 80s, and 90s don't fit the criteria of the tournament because they don't have a true starting 5 from what we are requiring to make the tournament. Is that a pretty fair assumption right there, Dave?
Yep, that was a fair statement. And without further ado, I think we jump right in. You want to give everybody the first 2 numbers? This is where the number one overall seed in our tournament lives.
So the number one overall seed in our tournament was number 7. After arguments from Dave and I behind the scenes, we have decided on number 7 as the number one overall seed. Okay. And this one has what we would call a wild card. Cristiano Ronaldo makes the starting 5 of number 7 because he could arguably, besides Messi or Pele, you can argue any which way he's the greatest goal scorer of all time in a sport where the team that scores the most goals wins. Okay. He's got more silverware in his case, him and Messi, in terms of Champions Leagues, Ballon d'Ors, La Liga titles. Cristiano Ronaldo's won Premier League titles. He's won Copa del Rey. I mean, there's so many trophies in this guy's case. He makes the starting 5. Baseball players, Mickey Mantle. Okay. How do you not put Mickey Mantle in the starting 5 when it comes to baseball?
Listen to these numbers from Mickey Mantle, okay? 20-time All-Star, 7-time World Series champion, 3-time AL MVP. He won the Triple Crown in 56, and he was a Gold Glove winner.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Folks.
It's ridiculous. Football. All right. John Elway, 2-time Super Bowl winner, been in the Super Bowl. I think he went to the Super Bowl 4 times. He's got a couple losses in there. Ben Roethlisberger, Super Bowl winner. All right. Joe Theismann, you're going to pick one of these guys. You can pick anyone. John Elway. We'll put John Elway as the third must-have starter from the 3 main sports. All right. Because we're going to add Pistol Pete Maravich in there from the basketball side. And Pistol Pete Maravich, what most people don't understand, is the greatest. You could argue is the greatest scorer of all time in basketball. But this is in a time when there was no 3-point line. This guy wrecked the league. A little white guy could just shoot the shit out of the basketball, scored, was one of the inventors, Dave, of like fancy passes. He made like behind the back passes like a thing back in the day.
Yep.
He played in the South. He's played at LSU. He played for the Jazz. I mean, just an all-time great, died too young. And then we had some hockey players, some all-time hockey players on here, like Ray Bourque. I mean, we're talking. This was the number one stack we used as the number one because we're talking about statistically over the course of sports. That's how we fell on this number as the number one overall seed. And they play a number 8 seed, a very, very solid number 8 seed, and that is number 52. And it is a loaded football number. It's a very loaded linebacker class is what I would say. You have Ray Lewis, 7-time All-Pro, 2-time champ. Patrick Willis, who retired young, 5-time All-Pro. Clay Matthews, Super Bowl champ, All-Pro. You had the center for the Steel Curtain back in the 70s, Mike Webster. Unbelievable. Dave Edwards, Super Bowl champ with the Broncos. You have a Hall of Famer in Jamal Wilkes, it's actually the only number 52 that is retired. He's the only Hall of Famer in NBA that wore 52. That number is retired by the Lakers and UCLA, which is, you want to talk about distinction. Have your number retired by UCLA and the Lakers. I think Kareem Abdul-Jabbar may be the only other person that had his number retired by the Lakers and UCLA. And it's not short because, like I said, we got to have baseball in here. You got CC Sabathia in here, who was a great pitcher for a lot of years for the Indians in the Yankees. You had the power hitter. You had Yoenis Cespedes in there as well. So number 52, Dave, is no slouch. What are your thoughts on this initial 1 versus 8 matchup?
No slouch whatsoever, but it is football heavy, right? And as we look to the criteria, I mean, I would side with number 7, especially when you start looking at the bench of number 7. You start looking at other players. You got Ivan Rodriguez, Pudge. You got Joe Mauer, Kenny Lofton. How about Michael Vick, Randall Cunningham, Joe Theismann, Nate Archibald? And we continue on hockey. You got Phil Esposito, Tim Horton, Paul Coffey. Number 7 is just too it's too deep. I don't see this as an upset whatsoever.
Oh, not even close. Like you said, it's very football centric. It's very much linebackers that 52 brings into the play. I mean, I know Jamal Wilkes is a Hall of Famer, retired his number in 2 places, but what's the next best number 7 in basketball? I think Greg Oden wore 7 when he played for the Blazers, and Greg Oden, short college career, one and done at Ohio State, went to the Blazers. Big man like that ends up having all sorts of injury issues and whatnot. But other than that, I mean, it falls right off the map. There's CC Sabathia. I don't know if he goes down as a Hall of Famer in baseball, but there's not even any Hall of Famers on the list in terms of baseball for number 52. So I don't think there's much of an issue here. moving along the number 1 overall seed and a pretty comfortable victory in the first round. Not to mention, in soccer, we're only mentioning Cristiano Ronaldo. We're not even mentioning Eric Cantona, Heung-min Son. There's so many guys that wear number 7 that followed in Cristiano's footsteps that are just unbelievable goal scorers to move along. So round 1, first matchup of the day, number 7 advances comfortably over number 52. Dave, what's the second matchup in the bracket, the 4-5 in bracket A?
Here we go. This is a tough one. We got number 11 versus number 42, which is a number that's retired across an entire sport.
Yep.
Okay. Makes this a very difficult one.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. This is when we got to that 4-5 line, it was pretty hard to kind of deviate who's a 4, who's a 5. So a lot of these that were 4-5s could have been 4s and could have been 5s. They're all pretty much virtually on the same line, in our opinion. It's like the 8-9 matchup in the NCAA tournament. Number 11 is insanely good. It's insanely good. People forget. Everyone thinks wide receivers, right? Like we mentioned earlier in the show, they're always in the 80s. Well, guess what? You have Hall of Famer to be Larry Fitzgerald, Hall of Famer to be Julio Jones, Julian Edelman wore number 11, multiple time Super Bowl champion. Phil Simms, Super Bowl champion, wore 11. Drew Bledsoe, great NFL career, number 11. How about in basketball? This is where I was like, it's 11. It's not that big a deal. Dude, Isaiah Thomas, Klay Thompson, Kyrie Irving, Yao Ming, Trae Young, Elvin Hayes, Bob McAdoo. I mean, it's crazy good in basketball.
Yeah, it really
crazy.
Is. It's phenomenal in basketball. Like you said, like it's not one of those numbers that you think of off the top of your head. Like this is going to be a ridiculous number, but it is. And then you even throw in a hockey player. You got Mark Messier,
all-time great.
Messier, all-time great. And then on the baseball side, you got Barry Larkin and Jimmy Rollins. I mean,
yeah,
that is a stout list at number 11. A stout
number 11.
Now, what did we have number 11? Was number 11 the 5 seed or the 4 seed?
Number 11 was the 4 seed in this bracket.
Number 11
it was the 5 seed. You're right. It was the 5.
Okay.
Number 42 is the 4 seed in this bracket.
Yep. Okay.
Jackie Robinson, his numbers retired everywhere. Ronnie Lott. Right? James Worthy.
You're the greatest closer of all time. The Sandman. Mariano Rivera. Number 42.
Rivera. Yep.
I mean, that right there, that little chunk is phenomenal. And we had to put one number 42 in there just because of hometown. Mo Vaughn. I mean,
Mo Vaughn.
I used to love watching Mo Vaughn just get up there and just swing the bat and just hammer stuff over the fence.
Yeah. In basketball, Kevin Love wore 42.
Yep.
And the only reason why Kevin Love, he wore 42 because he was drafted. He played UCLA, went to Minnesota. When he went to Cleveland, 42 was retired. That's why he changed to 0. Elton Brand from the great Duke teams that our UConn team beat in the final. Wore 42. Jerry Stackhouse wore 42. Kevin Willis, David Lee, 42.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weight in the baseball world with number 42, with Jackie Robinson and Mariano Rivera as your top 2. Ronnie Lott's a Hall of Fame football player and James Worthy, Hall of Fame basketball player. But I don't know. This one, I mean, what are your initial thoughts? Because I lean 11 on this. I really do. Just and the reason why I lean 11 is the depth of 11 is insane.
Yeah, the depth is something to be considered here because 42 is really top heavy. But as I'm looking at the rest of the numbers, it does start to fall off. And I mean, I think in the NFL, 11's got that. 11's got it there. Baseball, we'll give it to 42. But you start looking at basketball, I mean, that's number 11. And I think hockey's number 11 too.
Yeah, you get the bonus. You get the bonus wild card with Mark Messier in there.
Yep. I think number 11's got to move on. I think this is the first upset of the day. It didn't take long. We got the first upset of the day.
The first upset of the day. Number 11 advances to play number 7 in the Sweet 16.
Be an interesting one.
Yeah. Next matchup in bracket A.
All right.
This one, how ironic is this one?
I know this one's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Number 6, which is the 6 seed, versus number 23, which is the 3 seed in this bracket.
Yep. And this one, the most ironic part of this 3 versus 6 seed is number 6 and number 23 was worn by LeBron James. And LeBron James has won championships with both of those numbers. He wore 6 and won his titles in Miami. He wore 23 when he won his title in Cleveland, and then his de facto title COVID year bubble team championship BS with the Lakers. So we decided to put LeBron at 23. And the reason why we did that is because that's also the number that he wore at St. Vincent St. Mary's in high school. He wore 23. So he does have multiple titles with both numbers, but we decided on 23 because high school is what swayed us to keep him at 23 because pretty even number. He actually has worn 23 longer in the NBA than he has. 23 will be retired for him by Cleveland. I don't know if 6 gets retired by him in Miami. It may not. But we know for sure 23 is getting retired by Cleveland when he does actually retire. Just like Jordan. Jordan wore 23, went to 45, but that was only for a season. LeBron went to 6 for 4, I think it was for 4 seasons. He wore number 6. So that's the ironic part of this is we're pitting 6 versus 23, but LeBron falls to 23.
And the interesting thing here too is you've got 2 phenomenal basketball players, right? 2 of the greatest of all time, Michael Jordan, LeBron James. But you have 2 more of the greatest of all time in this list.
That wore
Bill
6.
Russell and Dr. J at number 6. So, I mean, you're pitting 2 phenomenal basketball players against 2 phenomenal basketball players right there. I mean, the numbers for Bill Russell are ridiculous, dude. 12-time NBA All-Star, 5-time NBA MVP, and an 11-time NBA champion. Are you serious?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Didn't he win a title as a coach too? Wasn't he a coach?
I don't know if he.
I don't know if he won a I don't know if he ever won a title as a coach. I thought for some reason he did coach. But I mean, he's the bona fide. If you're talking about the famous, if you say number 6, right? The number 6. Bill Russell and Julius Erving are number 1 and 2 on that list across all sports. It doesn't matter who else wore it. And you could argue Stan Musial is number 3, who's in the baseball category.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you have Russell. You choose if you want the starting 5. But either way, you're putting them both in the starting 5 because one of them is going to be used as one of your wild card spots. Stan Musial, all-time great baseball player. All right. Football is kind of for both. It's not great for both, in my opinion. You got Ryan Sandberg in baseball and Don Mattingly. Okay, so those are both great. But in football, what do you have in football at 23? Devin Hester, Arian Foster. It's not great. It's really not great.
No, it's it dips off. It dips off a lot. It really does.
I don't even think we're talking about Al Kaline in baseball too, because you have Sandberg and Mattingly, and we have Stan Musial, which has so much top. Al Kaline is an 18-time All-Star, by the way, and a 10-time Gold Glove winner, and is in the Hall of Fame. So it's like the number 2 baseball player is no slouch at number 6.
Yeah, no, and I mean, there's a soccer player on here too. You want to dive into that because that's not my.
Oh, Xavi's unbelievable. Xavi's an all-time great, number 6, right? He was in La Liga for 22 years. He played. He is the soccer player. He's been a World Soccer Player of the Year. He was La Liga Player of the Year. And he played, I forgot, for the greatest, you could argue the greatest soccer club in the last 25, 30 years, Barcelona. Goal scoring machine, number 6, Xavi. And then in football on 6, like we said, it falls off in real quick in 23 outside of basketball. Football on 6, we always forget. I'm pretty sure Ryan Howard wore 6 for the Phillies. He's a World Series champion. He's an MVP. He's a 3-time All-Star, Rookie of the Year. He wore number 6 for baseball. Baker Mayfield, Cutler, a lot of these guys wore 6. After that, man, when you're talking famous number 23s, it falls off real quick after Jordan and LeBron. I mean, I'm not saying Sandberg and Mattingly are slouches, but after that, where's your next best players? I mean, Devin Hester, you could argue, is the greatest returner of all time in football, but where's your next best player?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's an interesting conversation. I mean, I think if you look, I think six is my favorite here. I think they're just
Six is the winner.
Stronger. Here. I think so. I mean,
six is the winner. Six is deeper in my opinion.
I do too. I mean, I think they've got two better baseball players.
Yep,
and I don't
all-time better baseball players, and I don't think you're that far off basketball-wise.
Yeah, I don't think there's enough of a disparity there.
Yeah, because you could argue Bill Russell's the greatest. Because if we're talking statistics, right? We're talking championships, right? Statistics.
Yep.
I mean, Bill Russell.
He's got more than both of them.
What did he win? Like 10 out of 11 or something crazy like that?
Yeah, it was.
He's an 11-time NBA champion, and he only played 13 years, so he won 11 out of 13, and he was the MVP 5 times.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I think you got to put it on the board here.
And Dr. J's an MVP, Hall of Famer, 11-time All-Star. I know he never won. I don't think he ever won he never won a championship. I don't think, but
no, I don't think he did.
I think the upset here goes to 6. I really do. I think number 6 is the winner here. The 6 beats the 3. Number 6 advances.
Yep.
Let's move on. Let's move on to the 2-7 matchup in the bracket A. We have
here we go.
The number 2 seed, number 32.
Whew. That's really good.
And we have the number 7 seed, number 2, which is also very good. But I don't think you and I are going to debate very much in this matchup because
all right. Let's give the starters. Let's give the starters. First, give us the number 2.
Number 2, you're getting Derek Jeter.
Yep.
Okay. You can argue basketball player, Moses Malone or Kawhi Leonard gets the start with number 2.
Yep.
And in the NFL, this is where it's a good, you think it's a better number than it is, but it's got to go to Matt Ryan. He lost in the Super Bowl, but Matt Ryan is I guess probably statistically the best number 2. Yeah, Doug Flutie wore number 2 as well, but I think Matt Ryan would be statistically the best football player.
Matt Ryan's had a long career.
Yep.
Very long career, solid career.
And then in your wild card spot, your 2 wild card spots, you can put, whoever you don't pick, whether it's Kawhi Leonard or Moses Malone, you could put the other guy in there, and whoever, or you can put Brian Leach in there, great hockey player.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, great hockey player for sure. Could go in there. But I mean, let's look at number 32. Nothing against number 2. Derek Jeter is even though we both pain to say this, he's a Yankee. He's unbelievable. He's unbelievable. Unbelievable career. But let's look at number 32. Here's my starting 3 of the 3 big sports. Magic Johnson, Jim Brown, Sandy Koufax. Is there any other argument?
No, there's really not.
I mean, Karl Malone, O.J. Simpson, Bill Walton, Dave Winfield, our favorite, Richard Hamilton from UConn, Marcus Allen. I mean, is it close? I don't think this is close. I think this is an absolute beatdown.
Yeah, it's an absolute beatdown. And you're not even, I mean, we're not even taking into effect like some of the others. Kevin McHale that's on the list.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, some of these other guys. Mark Allen. I mean, there's some great numbers. I mean, there's some really good numbers here.
And the other thing we need to put in here too, Shaq is a 34. Shaq is not a 32 in this competition. We'll get to 34 when we get to him. But we use Shaq as 34 because he won his titles, his MVPs and his titles. He was great when he came in as 32 with the Magic, but we put him at 34 because of the Lakers, the run with Kobe.
Yep. I think this is a no-brainer. Move him on.
You know who may be the most underrated number 32 ever? Karl Malone. Are you kidding me?
The mailman, dude.
The mailman, just because he didn't win a title. You know what I mean? 14-time All-Star, 2-time MVP, went to the finals a few times. I mean, almost 37,000 points and 15,000 rebounds. The mailman.
Yep. All-timer.
Like, that's it. Blowout city. We have number 32. Routes number 2.
All right.
Now we're jumping into
the next bracket.
Yeah, now we are jumping in to bracket B.
All right,
This
so
was
this
our
is the
this was the one seed. This was our number 2 overall 1 seed. This was the one that battled number 7 for the number 1 overall seed. And that number is what, Dave?
it's number 12.
Woo,
Number 12.
doggy. Number 12.
I mean, it's got the greatest football player of all time sitting at the top of the list. But who drew them as an 8 seed?
Number 30.
Number 30.
Number 30. Good, and it's a good list. Let's break down the starting 5 for number 30. All right.
Okay.
The greatest shooter ever, Steph Curry.
Yep.
Multiple-time MVP, multiple-time NBA champion, greatest shooter ever, and it's not close. It's not close. With all credit to Ray Allen, who's one of our favorite athletes ever, it's not close. Steph Curry's the greatest shooter to ever touch a basketball. All right. If you want to round out his top 5, his starting 5, let's put Terrell Davis in there. Super Bowl champion running back with Elway for the Broncos.
Yep.
All right. Let's put Henrik Lundqvist in there because he is he's a great goalie. I'm sure
there's 2 on here. You got Martin Brodeur on here too. I mean, take your pick.
Yeah, you got Marty Brodeur. You're right.
Yep. So there's 2 great goalies on here.
Yeah.
But then it really dives off.
The problem with 30 here is it's not a baseball number. You thought it would be, but it's not. And here's another one. We put Griffey at 24, not 30, because Griffey will always be a Mariner in my book. Even though he went to Cincinnati, he's a Mariner. He's 24. Yep. There's no bona fide star 30 baseball player because Nolan Ryan wore 30 for a short time. Griffey wore 30 for a short time. It's not one of those numbers where the baseball, Griffey's dad wore it. It's tough. It's tough because of that. Because once again, Tim Raines wore 30 in baseball, but you have to fit the criteria of a starting 5. And you are a absolute machine with your basketball starter. And you're a machine, great football. Even Todd Gurley wore 30. All right. 30 was a good number. It's a good number, but to me,
it's a good number, but it's not even close. So let's run through the number 12.
Let's just run through 12. I mean, you have Tom Brady. Okay, it's over. Game over. That right there probably has enough clout to put it through. But not to mention, let's just go quarterbacks for a second. Aaron Rodgers, Terry Bradshaw, Roger Staubach, Jim Kelly, Joe Namath, Andrew Luck. There's 7 quarterbacks right there that were 12. All right. But if we need, but for sake of rounding out a top 5, John Stockton. Sorry, the greatest point guard ever played the fucking game. And if you need to put a baseball player in here, I forgot Wade Boggs. Wade Boggs baseball's tough, and we're gonna have a lot of this in baseball. A lot of guys in baseball, unlike basketball and football, they change their fucking number all the time. I just don't get it. I don't get it.
Frustrating.
They change their number all the time.
Yeah.
So we don't have much to talk about with this matchup. 12 is in to the next round. Number 30, I think Steph Curry makes it close early, but then Brady late just slices and dices, and that's it. Move along.
Yep.
Next matchup, 4-5.
4-5 matchup. All right. Number 4 versus number 44. And number 4 is the underdog here. Number 4 is the 5 seed. So why don't we start there? What do we got at number 4?
Number 4, let's just go starting 5. Lou Gehrig, Joe Dumars, Brett Favre, and then let's just throw in Bobby Orr for a great, Roger Hornsby, Adam Vinatieri. Let's just go that way. That's your starting 5 for number 4. And it's got some huge power. Lou Gehrig, Joe Dumars, Brett Favre is a pretty incredible 1-2-3 punch.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty good 5 seed right there.
Yeah.
And then you start looking on the other side. You start looking at 44. Who are they going to throw out there? You got Hank Aaron, Reggie Jackson, Jerry West. I mean, the logo. You got the logo. You got George Gervin. But this is where it starts to dip. You got Dick LeBeau, John Riggins on the NFL side. Now, hockey, we threw in Chris Pronger. He was drafted by the Whalers back in the day. So,
little hometowns.
But it really dips off. I mean, you do have Pistol Pete on the NBA side.
And that's the problem with Pistol Pete, because Pistol Pete's another one of these guys that wore his number, you know, and he wore 44 for the first half of his career, but he wore 7. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, it's tough. It is one of those tough ones. But I mean, the thing about it for this one for me, and there's nothing against number 4, you know, Brett Favre's MVP, Super Bowl champion, Lou Gehrig, great. But I mean, you were talking Hank Aaron, you know, because you got to round up the starting 5. So my 2 wild cards are Reggie Jackson and George the Iceman Gervin. So not only do you have Hank Aaron and Jerry West, you have freaking Reggie Jackson, Mr. October, and George Gervin. It's unbelievable. And you do have, you know, Derek Coleman. I mean, basketball falls out for sure. But basketball number 4 isn't really the best ever. I mean, obviously you have Lou Gehrig, who's the greatest number 4 of all time. But we put Barkley at 34. So Barkley didn't make it for us at number 4. You know, that's why, you know, you could argue Rick Barry wore number 4. There's a couple guys that wore number 4. But for me, you know, I think I don't know. What do you think?
I think you're discrediting some of the greatness of number 4. Like Roger Hornsby was no slouch. Okay?
No, I'm not saying you're right. I'm not saying
so. He might not be the starter because Gehrig's the starter, but dude could rake. Like he was a 2-time Triple Crown winner.
Yeah.
I mean, he's no joke. And I think you're also. I mean, you've got to put some weight on the fact that Bobby Orr is number 4 in hockey here.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that alone, I mean, he was phenomenal. Listen to these: 2-time Stanley Cup winner, 9-time All-Star, 3-time Hart Memorial Trophy winner, 8-time Norris Memorial Trophy winner. I can't tell you what all these trophies are, but they got to be pretty good if they made the list.
And I mean, his name is forever cemented as a hockey great, whether you watch hockey or not. You know the last name Orr. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, the only thing I guess I struggle sometimes with some of these baseball players because a lot of these guys were from the 20s. You know what I mean? Like, nothing against Roger Hornsby, but it was, you know, he played from 1915 to 1937. Like, I'm not trying to discredit baseball as a classic. I mean, it is a historic game.
Yeah. There's another hockey player we didn't even mention, and I don't know exactly how to pronounce his last name, but it's Jean Beliveau. I'm going to go Jean Beliveau. He is a Hall of Famer, 10-time Stanley Cup winner, 10-time All-Star. I mean, dude, so we're deep in baseball, we're deep in hockey, and we've got some depth in football. I mean, and Brett Favre trumps the entire list of football in 44 himself.
Yeah, you got John Riggins, you got Dick LeBeau. I mean, football's not. I mean, I'm not going to argue with you. Football's not great at 44. It's not. It's not great at 44. I mean,
I guess the question is, which baseball's better?
I mean, can we throw Barack Obama in there as number 44 too? I mean, he was the 44th president. That's got to give him a little push too.
I don't know. Give it to number 4. If that's what we're doing, give it to number 4.
I'm just saying, you know, we threw DJT in there for 45. We can throw Obama in there for 44. Yeah, man. The other thing is, you know, does football, you know, but I think, I don't know if you're discounting for some reason, you're discounting the logo, man. Jerry West is the logo. And George, you know, the Iceman Gervin, like Jerry West is the logo.
I mean, let's be honest. That's why this is a 4-5 matchup.
Hank Aaron is the number 1 slugger of all time. He is. He's the best hitter.
Yeah.
Barry Bonds is a cheater.
All right,
but I don't know. I mean, we're drawing straws here at this point.
I mean,
we're drawing straws.
I'll go with number 44 here. Hank Aaron, just the fact that it's Hank Aaron and the fact that Jerry West has the NBA logo for him. I'll put it over, but I don't see this number advancing in the next round.
Well, next round, so we already know they're playing number 12 in the next round. So
the number 4 seed, number 44, hangs on here
in a very close matchup, though. Very close.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, the 3-6.
The 3-6. This is an interesting one. Number 10 is the 3 seed.
Yeah.
And number 8 is the 6 seed.
Yep.
So now keep in mind, one caveat here. Kobe is number 24.
Kobe's 24.
Not number 8.
Yep.
So that's going to dictate a lot of this. So go ahead.
Well, let's go with number 8 being the 6th seed. Let's go dive into number 8. Baseball, ridiculous. Cal Ripken, Yaz, Yogi Berra. NHL, you got Ovechkin. You got an all-time great hockey player in here, which excuse it. You got Troy Aikman in the NFL. You got Lamar Jackson, Archie Manning. But the problem with number 8, baseball. Or basketball, because we moved Kobe over to 24. The next great
Zach LaVine is the best.
Yeah, and I don't even know if he's another one that's changed his number a bunch of times. I don't even know how consistently he's been number 8. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the problem that hurts number 8, because Kobe's 24 because his titles are 24. That's it. I'm not arguing with anybody. Kobe is number 24. There's no argument, and I'm not going to argue. All right, you do have a loaded baseball. Like baseball, this is baseball dominant number 8 with Ripken, Yaz, and Yogi Berra. But when you flip to number 10, you have basketball, Walt Frazier. NFL is a great, unbelievable. Tyreek Hill's not a Hall of Famer, but by the time he's done, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's the fastest player the league's ever seen. He's already won a Super Bowl. DeAndre Hopkins may be the greatest hands you and I have ever seen. Will be, most likely. I don't know, the PED use may hurt him eventually. I don't know, but if you're talking about just statistically on field, unbelievable. Eli Manning, two-time Super Bowl winner. Fran Tarkenton wore 10. Baseball falls off. Obviously, it's a major, major fall off, but you still have Chipper Jones. You know what I mean? You're not some garbage baseball player that falls off. Chipper Jones, Hall of Famer, 8-time All-Star. He won a World Series. He won an MVP, Silver Slugger Award winner. I don't think, and here's the deal for me when it comes to number 10. This is the deal for me. Number 10 is the greatest soccer number of all time. And when we're talking globally on a global scale, you have Pele and Messi. That is, you're putting those two in as your wild card. Those are your 2 bonus spots. And they're the 2 greatest soccer players to ever play. In the world's, I know we live in America, it's not the most, but it is the world's most popular sport by a mile. And for me, that's the difference when it comes to number 10 and number 8. Because Kobe, now if Kobe was an 8, this is an all-time matchup. But the fact that Kobe, even though you have Iron Man, Cal, and Yogi, and Yaz, and Aikman's won some Super Bowls. You're talking about the depth of the number, and that's the bench on 10 is far superior than the bench on 8, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. 10.
Imagine your third striker being Harry Kane, who's the all-time. He's going to be the all-time. He doesn't even make a list of number 10s because number 10 in soccer is so good and it's so deep that Harry Kane, who will be England, the birthplace of soccer, right? They always say that's the running. We're bringing football home. It's where they created the game, right? Harry Kane is going to be, he's the all-time leading goal scorer in England history, and he doesn't even make the list of the top 5 or 8 number 10s in soccer ever.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane. And to me, there has to be some weight to that.
All right, move them along. Number 10 it is. All right, we go to the bottom of the bracket. It's the 2 versus the 7 seed. Number 13 is the 2 seed, and number 14 is the 7 seed. Interesting matchup here.
Very interesting.
There's some really good number 14s as a 7 seed. You got Bob Cousy.
Yep.
Pete Rose.
Yep. 14's not a bad team.
No, not a bad team.
It's not a bad team at all.
Those are the 2 standout numbers, I'd say.
Yeah.
14.
But you got Ernie Banks and Jim Rice. You got, if you want to talk current players, you got Stephon Diggs, Dan Fouts. If for historic football, Y.A. Tittle. Let's throw another Whalers reference in there. Brendan Shanahan. And you know me, I love soccer. So I can't go and brag about number 10 without bragging about number 14. You have Thierry Henry, he's the greatest French player to ever play the game.
But let's be honest. We're comparing it against number 13.
It's
Wilt
a blowout.
Chamberlain.
We listen. We're giving 14 its due. It deserves credit because it's got Pete Rose, who's the greatest hitter to ever play baseball. But once you flip the script and you go to 13, this becomes a very, very quick route.
Yep. Yeah. Wilt Chamberlain, Dan Marino, Kurt Warner, A-Rod, Steve Nash, James Harden, Pavel Datsyuk.
Yeah. Sundin in hockey, Vizquel, Billy Wagner. It's a blowout.
Total blowout. All right. I don't even think we need to chat about this one anymore. Yeah. We said the numbers. Pete Rose, for all of his greatness, can't move number 14, the 7 seed, past number 13. It's
crazy. And I remember we argued because we kind of argued why number 13 wasn't a 1 seed. But it made the 2 line as probably the strongest number 2, I would imagine. You know what I mean? It's just unbelievable.
Yep.
All right. Let's move on to bracket C. And the number 1 overall seed, Dave, in bracket C is what?
Number 34.
Number 34.
Number 34. And they're going up against the 8 seed here, number 19. So let's give 19 its due. It's not going to upset number 1 here. It's just not going to happen. But go ahead. Give number 19 its due.
We'll go number 19. Listen, Johnny Unitas, Hall of Famer. Steve Yzerman in hockey, Hall of Famer. Lance Allworth in football, Hall of Famer. Tony Gwynn, probably the second best hitter in baseball history behind Pete Rose, Hall of Famer. Willis Reed in basketball. Joe Sakic in hockey. Joey Votto. Current players, Adam Thielen. Keyshawn Johnson wore 19. Deebo Samuel wears 19. 19 is no slouch. It is a good number. But it's number 34. And yes, it's going to be NBA-centric. But don't slouch on 34 when it comes to all the other sports.
Yeah, you say that, but listen to some of the other players. We'll start with the NBA because that's Shaq, Ray Allen, Charles Barkley, Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon, Paul Pierce. Yep. I mean, holy smokes. That NBA is just ridiculous. But then you got Walter Payton.
Yeah.
Walter Payton, Earl Campbell, Thurman Thomas, Franco Harris, Herschel Walker. But don't let that fool you. We still got MLB. I mean, Nolan Ryan, David Ortiz, Roy Halladay, Kirby Puckett.
Yeah.
It's absurd.
It's absurd.
34 is absurd.
19 is a good number, but 34 is an absolute blowout winner. There's no Cinderella story here with a 16 beating a 1. It's not happening.
All right. Moving on. Here we go again with another 4-5 matchup.
These are the hard ones. These are the hard ones because you have number 5, all right, which is the 4 seed, versus number 50, which is near and dear to our heart, as the 5 seed in the 4-5 matchup. So let's go with the underdog.
Number 50.
Okafor doesn't get the start because David Robinson gets the start at number 50. Okay. Right. Very basketball-centric number here, but you got Okafor, you got David Robinson, you got Rebecca Lobo. We're throwing Rebecca Lobo in there, all-time great women's basketball player from UConn. We have Tyler Hansborough, one of, if not, he's probably a top 10 college player to ever play the game. Ralph Sampson wore 50. Corey Maggette wore 50. Zach Randolph wore 50. All right, it's a basketball-centric number. But if we're going to talk baseball here, because once again, we're filling out the starting 5 and we have to go the depth of the team over all the sports. Fucking Mookie Betts. I didn't even know Mookie Betts wore number 50, by the way. But Mookie Betts, Adam Wainwright, Grant Balfour, 50 is no slouch. And then not even to mention one of the greatest linebackers to ever play the game, Mike Singletary. You got Justin Houston, Mike Vrabel caught, for the Patriots, also caught touchdowns in Super Bowls as a linebacker. 2-time Stanley Cup champion from the Blackhawks, Corey Crawford. 50 is no slouch. It is a very, very strong 5 seed. But the 4 seed, Dave, go ahead. You jump into into number 5.
Yeah, the 4 seed, number 5, baseball heavy all the way.
Yes.
You got Joe DiMaggio, Albert Pujols, Johnny Bench, George Brett, and another hometown favorite, Nomar Garciaparra.
Yeah.
Okay, so baseball, it's baseball heavy. In the NHL, you got Nicholas Lindstrom.
Yeah.
Okay, no slouch there. NBA, this is where it dips off a little bit for me. Okay. Yeah. Jason Kidd, Jalen Rose. Now, I love me some Jalen Rose. Always was a fan. Great player. Part of the Fab Five. He's a good dude, too. So he made the list. And on the NFL, you got Donovan McNabb, who never won the Super Bowl, but made it to a Super Bowl. Morton Anderson, all-time kicker. I mean, all-timer.
Yeah.
You got Nick Foles, who's a Super Bowl champion. And you also got Joe Flacco, who's a Super Bowl champion. So, number 5 is pretty
number
good.
Number 5, I mean, I'm not trying to slouch here because Jason Kidd, I mean, Brooks Robinson wore number 5. Jeff Bagwell wore number 5. David Wright for years wore number 5. We're not slouching here. But Jason Kidd, let me tell you something. I know you kind of said it falls off the map here, but Jason Kidd from 1994 to 2013 was a top 5 point guard his whole career in the league. 17,500 points, over 12,000 assists, over 8,000 rebounds. He was a triple-double before the triple-double was cool. 10-time All-Star selection, and he was a 5-time NBA assist leader. And he played when John Stockton played. You know what I mean? This guy, he played in a time of great point guards. And he's, you know what I mean? He is no slouch when it comes to basketball. It does drop off after that. I'm not going to.
But it's not deep past him.
Yeah.
It doesn't compete with the NBA of number 50. So the NBA of number 50 outweighs this.
Yeah.
So then I would ask, baseball
is not even close.
Has to be number 5.
It's not a has to be. It's a fucking bloodbath at number 5.
But I would say NHL is stronger. I don't know.
Hockey, we can discount hockey. If you're looking at the NFL, you got a Super Bowl winner in Flacco, a Super Bowl winner in Foles. Morton Anderson's one of the greatest kickers of ever. McNabb made a Super Bowl, went to 4 or 5 straight NFC championship games. And then if you look at the football on the other side, Mike Singletary won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Hall of Famer.
Mike Vrabel.
But after that,
all right.
I love basketball. Listen, don't get me wrong. I love Okafor and I love David Robinson. But I think, in my opinion, and this is where we can debate, the baseball on number 5 is what pulls number 5 through for me.
I think the NFL does too. I'm going with you. I'm going with you on this one. Number 5.
Number 5. But that's a great matchup. That's probably an overtime game.
Yeah. Here's a good one for a 3-6. Okay. This is a real good one for a 3-6.
Yeah. The 3 seed is number 33.
Yep. And the 6 seed is number 22.
Yep.
Okay. So this is sneaky good. Where do you want to start?
Well, let's start with the favorite. Let's start with number 33.
Okay.
Up until 3 weeks ago, the all-time leading basketball scorer of points, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. The greatest gamer, shit talker, legend, Larry Bird. Jordan's number 2, Scottie Pippen. Baseball, Frank Robinson and Eddie Murray. All right. Football, no slouch in football, Tony Dorsett and Roger Craig. Hockey, the great Patrick Waugh. Oh, I forgot to throw Patrick Ewing in there too when we're talking about famous number. Sorry, I forgot Patrick Ewing, who, by the way, didn't he just get fired from Georgetown the other day?
He did. He just got fired.
He's not. These great players. I think Patrick Ewing is so good. It's not even funny. He never won a title because he played in Jordan's era, but that guy is so good. He was an absolute beast. And I say beast with a capital B in college. People didn't know what to do with Patrick Ewing when he played at Georgetown. They didn't know what to do. They literally had never seen anything like him as the physical specimen on the floor than when Patrick Ewing played basketball. And you know what's crazy? I'm talking about Patrick Ewing. I'm not even talking about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Larry Bird, or Scottie Pippen.
It's true. That's true.
Right?
Yeah. It's solid. It's a solid number 3 seed. So, but it has some competition at number 22.
Go ahead. It's got great, not some. It's got a great competition.
It's got the all-time rushing leader, Emmitt Smith, to lead it off. You got Clyde the Glide Drexler,
Mm-hmm.
Elgin Baylor, Moses Malone. How about baseball? You got Clayton Kershaw.
Best pitcher of the last 12 years, no doubt, hands down, no doubt about it. He couldn't pitch in the postseason, but if you're talking about just absolute filthy, nasty pitcher, Cy Young Award winner, I mean, just crazy.
Yep. How about Jim Palmer? I mean, this number just keeps going. You got Gaylord Perry, Bob Hayes, Larry Nance, and you got Andrew McCutchen. He was good. I mean, he was a great baseball player for a stretch of time. And Robinson Cano, again, didn't like him because he was on the Yankees. But still, this is a stout list.
I want to go through the tail of the tape here on a couple guys. Okay.
Okay.
I want to highlight a couple guys in each one. First, I want to go to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar because, like I said before, last week he was the all-time leading scorer. A couple weeks ago when LeBron broke it. Okay. He played in the National Basketball Association from 1969 to 1989. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
He is a 6-time NBA champion, a 2-time Finals MVP, a 6-time League MVP, a 19-time All-Star, 10-time All-NBA first team, 5-time All-NBA second team, so 15 out of 19, 5-time All-Defensive first team, 6-time All-Defensive second team, Rookie of the Year, scoring champ, rebounding champ. Okay? That's the first guy I want to talk about. The second tail of the tape for me on number 33 is the Larry Legend. 3-time champ, 2-time Finals MVP, 3-time MVP, 12-time All-Star, All-Star Game MVP, 3-point champion, 9-time All-NBA first team, All-NBA second team, 3-time NBA second team. Oh, by the way, he's the NBA Rookie of the Year in 1980. Okay? That's, you want to argue those are the top two. We don't even talk about Pippen with 6 titles and 7 All-Stars, and he's a 3. Imagine that. Imagine being Jordan sidekick. He was a 3-time All-NBA player that everyone forgets about. Scottie Pippen, 8-time defensive, All-NBA defensive team. But when it comes to 22, I want to talk about your boy, you Cowboy fan, Emmitt Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously the all-time NFL rushing leader, right? He is a 3-time Super Bowl champion, a Super Bowl MVP, 8-time Pro Bowler, 4-time first team. He was the MVP as a running back in 93, offensive rookie of the year. 4 times he led the league in rushing, 4 times he led the league in rushing touchdowns. And the other guy, I think, 10-time All-Star Clyde Drexler, he finally won a title with the Rockets. You know what I mean? He was a great player. But I think Kershaw, there's something to be said for Clayton Kershaw. The guy's an 8-time All-Star. He won the MVP as a pitcher, which is never a pitcher award. It's always a hitter award. He's won the Cy Young 3 times. He won the Triple Crown in baseball, pitching once. He won a Gold Glove. NL wins leader 3 times. ERA leader 5 times. Strikeout leader. 100. I'm sure his numbers are higher than this because I got to look at the statistics. Over 160 wins, ERA under 3, nearly 2,500 strikeouts. I mean, Clayton Kershaw is an unbelievable baseball pitcher.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. Did Mike Schmidt wear another number outside of 22? Because for some reason, we didn't list him here. But I don't think he did. I think he was 22 with the Phillies.
No, he wore 20.
He did? With the Phillies?
Yeah, he wore 20 with the Phillies. So I wonder if he went 20 with the Phillies first.
Okay, then that's where he'd live.
Do I have him? We probably have him on the 20 list. Let me go. Yeah,
And
I have him on the 20 list.
Okay, and one thing to note here, Roger Clemens, we did not list as 22. We listed him as 21, so that's why his name isn't in here. But listen, I'm going to give you 33's got NBA lockdown, no doubt about it.
Yeah,
but on the MLB side, I don't even think it's close. 22.
The other thing is, I think we got to look at Frank Robinson's number in Major League Baseball, because Frank Robinson, I think, wore 20 and 22 as well. Because Frank Robinson is just one of the greatest to ever put a bat in his hands. And once again, that's the problem that we're running into with baseball players, because it makes no effing sense that they switch their numbers so much. You know what I mean? They switch their numbers so much. And I think what about football? I mean, outside of Emmett, I think football for sure goes to 33. You know,
Probably.
I think
the next best player is Bob Hayes, Super Bowl champ, 3-time Pro Bowl, 2-time first team All Pro, and he led the league in receiving touchdowns twice.
Yeah, Tony Dorsett's a Super Bowl champ, 4-time Pro Bowl.
Patrick Craig,
no slouch.
This one's a tough one for me.
Roger Craig is a 3-time Super Bowl champion.
I think the NBA is just so good that it helps tip the scale because the other categories are still strong.
Oh yeah. I mean, so, I'm not saying nothing about 22. I'm not taking anything away from 22. But I think this is. I think 33 moves on, but I think it's not. Okay. It's not a blowout. It's a close game.
All right, moving on.
Number 33. Because you're right. Basketball is so heavy.
Yeah, it is.
Who we got in the 2-7 matchup?
Go. The 2-7 matchup. Number 2 seed, number 24.
Yep.
And the number 7 seed, number 35.
Yep. Yeah. Well, we know 24 already. You started off with Kobe. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable. 24 as a 2 seed also was close to being a 1 seed. And I think it's pretty simple to say why. You have Kobe Bryant and Willie Mays. Like that right there,
And, by the way, then you've got Jeff Gordon.
Yep, Jeff Gordon.
The second top 3 driver of all time.
Yep.
And you've got Ken Griffey.
Marshawn
Jr.
And you got Ken Griffey Jr., and you got Miguel Cabrera, and you got Marshawn Lynch, and you got Manny Ramirez. I mean, 24.
Ricky Henderson.
20.
Champ Bailey in the NFL.
Yeah.
Rick Barry. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, let's give 35 its due. It's got Justin Verlander. I mean, incredible pitcher.
It's got Kevin Durant.
Frank Thomas, Phil Niekro, Aeneas Williams, Mike Richter, Paul Silas, Hideki Matsui. Used to hate when that guy used to come to the plate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a strong. I mean, hey, listen, 35 is a really good number. If you got Kevin Durant, Justin Verlander, Frank Thomas, you're doing something pretty well there. But it doesn't compare to 24.
It's not 24.
No. All right, let's get to the last. Let's get to
the last piece of the first round, which are the
number one.
What are the two? Can you read them to me, Dave? What are the numbers? What's number 1?
Number 9
in this final bracket.
Number 9 is the 1 seed. Number 45 is the 8 seed. Ooh. So why don't we give 45 a little run here?
Yeah, let's give 45 its due.
Yep.
45 is actually no slouch. We obviously, if I mention one president, can't go down without mentioning the old DJT. Donald J. Trump was 45. And then you got a good number here. 45 is a good number. You got Pedro, you got Bob Gibson, you got Archie Griffin. All right. There's nothing wrong with 45. You got Balotelli in soccer, who most of you don't know who that is, but he's an Italian soccer star. You got Rudy Tomjanovich, Bo Outlaw, Kenny Easley in basketball. All right. And I'm not, like I said, we're not slouching on 45. But I want to say this. It may be most famous because Jordan wore it for half a season, right? When he came back wearing the 4-5, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Pedro near and dear to our heart. But let's talk about number 9. This is a number 1 seed for a reason. It is stacked.
Yeah.
Drew Brees, Matthew Stafford, Sonny Jurgensen, Joe Burrow. All right, that's just quarterbacks. Baseball.
Don't forget one. Tony Romo.
Oh, I skipped over him. Sorry.
I know you did.
Let's talk baseball. Teddy Ballgame, Ted Williams, Joe DiMaggio, Roger Maris, hockey, Gordie Howe, NBA, Tony Parker in NBA. I mean, that's a big deal. Tony Parker's won how many championships with the Spurs? I mean, we're talking a lot.
Yeah, it's a really good list.
It's a great list.
Really good list. I don't even think we need to talk about this anymore because we're going to talk more about number 9 in the upcoming round. So number 9, move him on as the 1 seed.
Number 9, moving on. Number 9.
All right, here we go. We got our last 4 or 5 matchup.
Which always lead to
number
the best.
4,
which led to the best arguments come from the 4-5s.
The 4 seed, number 5. Oh, I'm sorry, number 15. and the 5 seed number 20. So we got number 15 versus number 20 here in the 4-5 matchup.
Oh,
where do you want to start?
Man, it's hard. This is a good one. This is a really good matchup. I think football. Let's start with 15 because it's fresh in our minds. I don't know how many quarterbacks we're going to see in our lifetime that are as good as Patrick Mahomes, and that's saying a lot because he's only been in the league for 5 years and he's been to the AFC Championship all 5 years and the Super Bowl 3 times with 2 of those as wins. Okay, It's insane. Not to mention that Bart Starr wore number 15. Okay. And then when you go to basketball, yes, I'd argue this is not a great basketball number. You do have Nikola Jokic, who is about to be a 3-time in a row NBA MVP. Vince Carter, Kemba Walker. All right. In football, outside of Mahomes, it does kind of drop off. Mahomes, Bart Starr. Tebow, for popularity, wore 15. Not that he's a great. Michael Crabtree, I'll throw in a 49er in there. Brandon Marshall, really, really good receiver, wore 15. Baseball, I think it's pretty good baseball-wise, too. You got some great hitters in here. You got Dustin Pedroia, Carlos Beltran, Jim Edmonds. I mean, Joe Torre wore 15. The great Joe Torre wore number 15. He's obviously much more well-known as a manager, but that has to have some clout in here as well, because he is Joe Torre. But when we move to the number 20 side, number 20 is pretty daggone good as well. When you want to jump into number 20 here, you want me to keep going?
Yeah, you start off with arguably. We talked about Emmitt Smith as the NFL's leading rusher, but the debate has always been if Barry Sanders had stayed around, that he would have been the greatest rusher. So Barry Sanders, I think, leads the list, number 20 here.
Well, Barry Sanders, everyone forgets he quit football. He retired. Do you know that the 10 years that he played in the league, he made the Pro Bowl all 10 years, and he was a 6-time first-team All-Pro. Oh, and he won the MVP as a running back. And he's a Hall of Famer, and he only played 10 years. I mean, it's insane. It's insane how good he was.
Yeah, it really is. And then, and the NFL doesn't just drop off there. You got Ed Reed.
Yep, Ed Reed.
He was one of the feared defense. Yeah, one of the most feared guys on that Ravens defense. It's no joke. And then on the baseball side, you got Mike Schmidt.
Yeah, Lou Brock on the baseball side.
Yep.
Don Sutton on the baseball side. Jorge Posada. We never really liked him, but he was good on the baseball side for the Yankees.
And the NFL, or the NBA, kind of it drops a little bit. But you got Manu Ginobili. You got Gary the Glove Payton.
Gary Payton.
A couple of good NBA guys there.
And we didn't, obviously Ray Allen's 34, but Ray Allen actually won his first title ever with the Celtics and he did wear 20 because Pierce wore 34. Lou Brock was a great Tony Stewart, number 20. Yeah. We're talking NASCAR driver, right? It's
you throw him in. He's one of the best of all time. Too.
He's one of the best of all time. If you're talking, Mahomes and Star, because it is quarterback driven star power. But you got depth with Sanders and Reed. Football kind of a wash. I think football probably leans because of Mahomes and Starr in their Super Bowl wins. Leans football as the winner here. Basketball, Ginobili's got more titles. Nikola Jokic has no titles. Kemba Walker has no titles. These guys are not NBA champions. Where Ginobili is an all-time great basketball player, but it also, this is a tough one, and this is why we pit it this way, because there's no real standout that should deserves, what kind of weight are we putting on Pedroia as a MVP in a World Series winner, right? There's got to be some weight there, right?
Yeah, there's definitely weight there.
Is he as great as Mike Schmidt all time? No. You know what I mean?
Not even close.
Not even close. But you also have Jim Edmonds and Carlos Beltran that were 15. So, I'm okay either way here. But what does your gut tell you? Just give me your gut. What is there one player that moves the needle more than the other? Is there one that breaks the ice for you that leans it one way or the other?
I lean number 20 here.
Okay.
And the reason I do is because I think Mike Schmidt is so much better than the baseball list in 15. Mm-hmm. And while Patrick Mahomes is, I mean, the greatest quarterback going right now by a lot.
Yep.
Barry Sanders was so good, dude. I know he wasn't a Super Bowl winner, but he was so good.
Yeah.
And you've got an X factor here where you've got a NASCAR guy and Tony Stewart who was phenomenal, and he wasn't just a NASCAR driver. Dude drives everything. Anything with 4 wheels and a steering wheel, dude, he gets out there and races it, and he wins everything he touches. So,
yeah. Can I say a caveat though for Tony Stewart?
Sure.
He only won the Cup Series one time. For his greatness, he only won it once, which is mind-boggling because he played against.
True.
He did drive against Jimmy
Johnson,
Jeff Gordon, Jr. The Bush brothers. So for as great as he is, he does only have one title. But listen, I am fine either way on this one. I'm not going to argue either way. If you think we lean 20 here, then I'm okay with leaning 20 here because of the baseball power, and football's no slouch. And basketball, you have Ginobili versus the next. Will Nikola Jokic be a Hall of Famer? Yes, but Manu we know for sure is a Hall of Famer, and he put Argentina basketball on the map. That guy.
Yep.
So I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to argue either way. I mean, I think if you're looking at the star power, the number 1 overall player that would get drafted from either one of these is Patrick Mahomes. But after that, then you could argue 2 through 10 is 20. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I think it's 20 here. I really do. I think I know Patrick Mahomes' greatness, but I think the other players in number 20 boost it up.
All right, we got the 3-6 matchup. The 3-6
matchup,
which is the number
3 seed.
Number 3.
The 3 seed's number 3. And the 6 seed is number 1.
Yeah. Let's talk
Where do you
about
want to start?
I'm going to start with Babe Ruth. How about that? Let's just start the conversation with Babe Ruth.
Seems like a good place to start.
Not to mention Jimmy Fox, Harmon Killebrew, and Mel Ott in baseball, but let's just start with Babe Ruth. Dude, is there anything else to say? Babe Ruth. Like the name Babe Ruth. It's just, he's the best. I mean, he's the best to ever wear number 3 across any sport. Not to mention he won the World Series 7 times. One thing that was surprising to me, there's a curse named after this guy. Okay? Literally a curse named after this guy that went on for 86 years. Like, that's how insane this curse is. So, Babe Ruth. And then let's just stay with number 3 because we're on number 3. Oh, not to mention Allen Iverson, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Paul in basketball. Russell Wilson, Super Bowl winner in football. Dale Earnhardt, the Intimidator in NASCAR. That's your number 3s.
Yeah.
Your number 1s are no slouches. Oscar Robertson, Tracy McGrady, Penny Hardaway, Derrick Rose, Chauncey Billups. That's a starting 5 in basketball right there of all point guards. Ozzie Smith in baseball. Warren Moon in football. All right. You got Roberto Luongo in the NHL. But for me, if you want to open this up for debate, I'm down for debate. But I don't think I think number 3 moves along. And I think this one, maybe people thought it was close, but it really isn't that close for me.
It looked close when you put Oscar Robertson, Tracy McGrady on the list, you're like, all right, that's pretty good. Then you see Ozzie Smith there, you're like, okay.
Yeah.
But when you end up matching it up against it's not even close.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And not to mention the basketball players that are on number 3, Allen Iverson, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Paul are all Hall of Famers.
Yes.
So, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
The Big O, I'm not taking anything away from the Big O. But you got 3 pretty damn good fucking guards in number 3.
Okay. The last matchup of the first round. It's the number 2 seed versus the number 7 seed. It's number 21.
Yep.
Versus number 17. 21 is the 2 seed here. 17 is the 7.
Highlighted by Tim Duncan and Roberto Clemente, and then you choose who you want as your starting football player. Deion Sanders, LaDainian Tomlinson, Frank Gore, Charles Woodson. NBA is no slouch. Behind Duncan, you got Garnett, Joel Embiid, who may be the MVP this year, you want to argue. Dominique Wilkins, Michael Cooper. Baseball, okay, we have Roberto Clemente, but we put Clemens in as a 21. So Clemens really leans this as it makes us a
Yep.
very strong number 2 seed. Not to mention Warren Spahn, Peter Forsberg in hockey. I mean,
Sammy Sosa.
Sammy Sosa, 21, is the 2 seed versus the number 7. And I'm not taking anything away from the number 17, which is the 7 seed. You have Hondo. You have current players like Devontae Adams in the NFL. You have Josh Allen, who's the number 2 quarterback in the league behind Patrick Mahomes right now. You have, Shohei Ohtani. I don't even know in baseball. I know he's really good. You know me. I'm not a big baseball guy anymore like I used to be. Phillip Rivers in football. Keith Hernandez, baseball. Todd Helton, baseball. Doug Williams, Super Bowl champion. There are some good number 17s out there. But the star power of 21, to me, I don't think it's close. I think 21 probably rolls pretty comfortably here. It's a double-digit win if we're going by basketball standards. Maybe a 2-touchdown win by football standards. And if we're going baseball, it's, to me, maybe it's like it's a high-scoring game, but they win, 10-4 or something crazy like that.
Agreed. I think I don't think that's even close.
So round 1 is in the books, boys and girls. We had a couple upsets. The star power did pull through in a lot, but we did have a couple upsets. Round 1 is in the books. Stay tuned. Next week's show we will finish off the bracket with the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, and the Final 4 in next week's show.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I cannot wait for next week. We're going to get after it and finally get to our champion number. I think we had some great upsets today. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. We're going to have some great conversations. So everybody get out there, continue to live the full force life, and we'll see you next week.